question is, why didn't you go through the proper procedure to get your name on the ballot?
You know, I did the board for 10 years, and, you know, with 6 kids, 8 grandkids, 1 on the way, my son working on the house in the village, and that, my wife's, do we really have time? You know, do you really have time to, and, you know, she knows I like to be involved, she knows I like to help the community, which I feel I've done and been a part of for a number of years. And I got a call, hey, nobody signed up, nobody is running for 2 empty spots. I'm like, talk to my wife, and she goes, you know what? You need to do this. You had an impact when you were there last time. So I went and talked to the office manager here at Village, Eileen, and filled out the paperwork, and trying to do it as a write-in. So again, this community means a lot to me. Again, raising kids here, my grandkids are here all the time. We wanna make sure that what comes to this community is good for the community, that the community is safe and clean, and, you know, that the taxes are low. There's some things we can work on, and I'm willing to roll up my sleeves and do it. And I know with the skills I bring of asking questions, I can help.
Thank you. Scott?
So when I thought long and hard about running this past offering for the position, running for the position as a regular candidate by doing the right steps. My job at the time didn't accommodate that. And I was a little disheartened about it, because I really wanted to be a part of the board again. I felt like the group that is there now is doing an extremely successful job. Like Dusty, I'm passionate about this community. I live here, I live in the village. I love this village. My kids are here, they plan on staying here. I want to stay here for as long as I possibly can. I want to make sure that it's the community that I keep on dreaming about, the one that we continue to develop, that, you know, we keep our heart again, and we keep on growing outside of that to make sure that we're responsible. My job changed, and I was able to afford the time, and there was a conversation that was being had between Eileen and Matt at a planning commission meeting, and I overheard them making a statement about open seats, and I got excited. I'm like, you're kidding? There's an opportunity? I might be able to get on the village board. I talked to them about it, they explained the process, I filled out the paperwork the next day, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity to be on that board again.
Thank you. Brian?
Well, I was on the planning commission and the CDA, and that's all I was really planning on doing at first. And then when I saw the 2 open seats, I was actually gonna go through the process of doing it the proper way. And I decided, well, I'll just stay on the planning commission and CDA. And then, when I saw that there were 2 open seats and nobody running, I was at a CDA meeting, and Matt had said, well, do you know anybody that might wanna run for the village board? Anybody in the group or anybody outside the group? I said, all right, I'll do the 1 year. So then I went home and told my wife I'm running for the village board. Yeah, I had thought about doing the proper way of doing it, but then when I saw 2 open seats, I didn't wanna see 2 open seats on the board. I didn't think that'd be good. So, and like I said, I'm just like Scott and Dusty. I love the community. My 2 sons bought houses in the community. They're gonna raise my grandkids in the community, so I just wanna continue helping to make the community as best we can.
Thank you. The next question will be for all board candidates, and I think Mary's turn is to go first.
I believe so.
All right, what are the top issues facing our village of East Troy?
Top issues are managed growth and managing the budget. Short and sweet.
Okay. Matt?
Yes.
Okay.
And I'll expand on that in a minute, but as I said earlier, I think housing is our next thing. We have to have affordable workforce housing for our teachers, our firefighters, our police officers. In this economy, I mean, they're great homes that are being built, but those aren't starter home prices. and that's real hard on, a community like ours. We have to have the diversity of all of that, here in the community, and I think that's gonna be important for the board and the plan commission especially, as we talk about the plan commission has reviewed some of those plans coming up. As with everything, this is gonna be a long haul, we have to work through that. How do we do that while doing what Mary said? And that's investing in infrastructure, it's working with the state, investing in our staff, and investing in, sound budgeting. Our staff's already doing capital budgeting now for starting next year. It's March 6th, right? And the joke, they're like, didn't we just pass the budget? I said, I know, it never ends, and it doesn't. And the reason why is when you see these, you'll always hear, there's this fiscal cliff that if we don't grow, we won't be able to invest in capital because our operational costs will exceed that. Because we gotta pay our people more because of inflation, we gotta pay our vendors more, materials are more, that's just life. How do we do that? We can't increase taxes, we don't wanna increase taxes, that way. We have to have that smart growth. Guess what, every year, that fiscal cliff moves out because of what the board's been doing. We had a net new construction 2 years ago of over 4%. We're one of the fastest growing in the area, but at the same time, as Scott and others have talked about, it's in the industrial park. That's where that value is, and we have more properties there for industrial development. You look though at McQuantigo, that's not smart growth, and look what happened to their board. They said no more growth. But then, they don't have a levy increase. Now, how do you absorb all these cost increases we were just talking about? How do you keep your services up? I wanna make sure that we've got great services. Some of it we can accomplish through, coordination with the other towns. So I think those are the big things, and those are hard things, and those are things that require compromise, that require discussion, debate, but understanding that we're trying to get to the right thing. And at the end of the day too, we're all, as Scott said, we live here, we're all taxpayers too. So we have to live with the decisions that we make as well.
It's an interesting question, and the fact that, as Mary pointed out, and Matt pointed out, I would just add to it that it's the managed growth, but compassionate managed growth. Again, looking at what's making people wanna come to East Troy. Understanding that we've got that Mayberry RFD feel, right? And we've gotta ask ourselves, what do we wanna be when we grow up? Well, to Scott's point, we still wanna be Mayberry RFD, but we need to let other businesses come in. And those other businesses are going to bring in tax dollars that hopefully will support more police, will support more fire, will support more sewer, water, the different things that we need. And all those things have to be looked at as we grow. A thing that was brought up today is the tri-community. If we're all working together, sooner or later, it's all going to grow together. And we're all going to be using the same stores and the same roads and the same things. That's gotta be managed. And it's gotta be managed openly between the communities. And it's gotta be managed with compassion for the people that live here today. We're all taxpayers. I pay taxes, I pay a lot of taxes, and I'd like to see those taxes go down. The water is expensive, I'd like to find a way to work and see what we can do to help with those water costs, and there's a lot of things we have to look at, and a lot of things that we can do if we work together, we listen to the constituents, and we grow with compassion. So that's, for me, one of the top things. We talked a little bit about the taxes in there. Guys, the taxes, if we do this right and smart, we should be able to control the taxes, don't you think, Ben?
I think we do.
Yeah. So I think we've done a good job with the taxes, but I think there can be more done as we move forward, because things will change, and we have to keep an eye on it. So,
Thank you. Scott?
Just to reiterate what everybody else has said, it's budget and responsible growth. and they go hand in hand. If Dusty identified, East Troy as Mayberry, sure does feel like that. But if you sit on this board and you listen to some of the police reports, it takes a lot to make us feel like that. It takes a police force that needs funding to make us feel like that. It takes an administration crew that, makes everything seem like it's just seamless and just works without any effort. There's a lot of effort that goes behind all of it. You've got a Department of Public Works that makes our community look absolutely beautiful. It doesn't come for free, it comes at a cost. So we have to make sure that our growth in this community is responsible for the growth that we want to maintain what we have as an existing community. Mayberry. I love to be that Mayberry.
It is, it's Mayberry.
Barney's not on our,
No,
we have
we don't have any
no
Barney
Barney
fights.
Brian, go ahead.
I pretty much agree with everybody, responsible growth and budget, like Matt said, I'd like to see some more affordable housing where a young family with, starting out with kids can come here and raise a family, and their kids can move here and raise a family, and, although the Blinsky home and subdivisions are nice, a lot of people can't afford those.
That's $400,000.
Those aren't starter homes.
No.
I would like to see some more affordable housing that way, so we can bring in growth. I think we really gotta work on making our schools strong and good, because we want more kids to open and roll in our schools instead of open and rolling out and losing the tax money. Another thing that I'm pretty passionate about, being on the fire department for 12 years, we went from a volunteer fire department to a full-time fire department now, where our budget is like triple. So, I agree with a lot of stuff that's happening with the fire department, but on the same token, we wanna make sure that we're done properly and we're serving the community with the service that they deserve, and we're doing the best we can with the budget, because we're gonna be one of the biggest part of the budgets in a lot of the communities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I agree with just about everything everyone said, you know, it's the steady growth and, not too fast of growth, but we need to grow and grow the tax base, to support the schools and the businesses here. Meeting with the fire department a couple weeks ago, I mean, I didn't realize how tight their budget is, and I think that's probably one of my major concerns is, they need to, obviously they need to be here, but, how do we support that? And I think right now they're looking at a different collection agency, but, yeah, their budget's tight, so.
Thank you. Next question, we'll start with Matt. Do you think the Village of East Troy needs any zoning changes, and if yes, what would these be?
that's a nice simple question, right? I think if you go, we've got some, in the boardroom, we've got some printed maps, you can go to the zoning hub website, from the village website, it has all of the different zoning types and maps, and there's the comprehensive plan where we wanna go, and I think a lot of what I wanna change, and we've been talking about the planning commission lately, is, there's conflicting things in the zoning plan and the comprehensive plan, that information, and a lot of it intersects with what, Scott's been talking about down, within and around the Village Square, kind of downtown transition zone there, as you move from businesses out to residential, and how do those overlap? How do we enable to let people do what they want to do with their properties? And what does that mean though, so that we keep the character, as we've all been talking about, of what we've got? One of the challenges, a lot of those, properties there, some of the zoning rules that we wanna change are about garages. There's a lot of detached garages. If you tear one down today, you have to build it back exactly the way it is. You move it 1 foot or whatever, you're out of compliance. So we're trying to fix those types of things, because it's not flexible. It works great for, the Valencia subdivision, where you have a full quarter acre of a lot, but we can't really make that work in those places. So we have to find the right way to do those. I think, again, it's about making sure, some zoning is kind of grandfathered in. As the village has grown, it's like, well, why is that way? Why is this that way? If those properties change ownership and they do we necessarily want that to remain, you know, industrial or light industrial? And we've had, individuals come to the planning commission or come to staff and say, well, this is, zone this, and then I want it zoned light industrial. So you can make the application, but I can tell you that it's not gonna go past the planning commission, that they're not gonna be in favor of it. And I think that's the passion that, you know, we're hearing from all of us, that we wanna make sure that smart, compassionate growth, that it makes sense. You know, nobody wants to be living right next to, you know, a loud factory that isn't, you know, making sense just for economic growth. When a property owner comes up with a particular concern, I think that's where I would answer that question. You know, other than the issues that I talked about are ones that are currently on the planning commission. Things that, how do we, deal with things like detached, housing, you know, so if somebody wants to build the in-law suite, you know, there. But that's a solution to some of our affordable housing problems too. That's how you get families to come in. So we wanna make sure that we're flexible, but we also wanna make sure that we're retaining character. So, those would be the zoning changes I would like to see, and if somebody has a particular need, they're always welcome to contact me or any of the planning commission members and talk about it.
On that topic, I'd compliment the board, because, you talked about the garages. My son, one of my sons, another one of my sons lives in the village, and he bought a house, and it's a beautiful bungalow, did a lot of work to it. The trouble is, the garage that was with this bungalow is falling down, you know? And, the challenge with what was in place for ordinances was if that garage comes down, it would have to be moved to be off of the property line, all right? Well, if you know the village lots, all right, village lots are long and skinny. And if you move the garage from sitting on the property line, you know, to the center of the yard, he'd have no yard, right? My son was able to pull this together, talk with the village board. I even talked to Matt about it. Matt, you agree? You know, you look at a lot of cities or urban environments, those garages are on the property line. And the reason they're there is so people still have a lot that they can use. So, to your point, and I agree with you, Matt, there has to be flexibility. Some of the things that are on the books are old and outdated, and they don't work within the environment today. We need to understand what those are and understand what a change would mean. Does it still allow us to be Mayberry, or is it turning us into something that we don't wanna be? And we need to differentiate between those two. My home on the corner of Division and Elm. When the house was originally built, it had a carriage house, right? Well, somewhere along the line, the carriage house burned down. With the ordinances in place today, I can't put a carriage house back up. That would be something I'd have to go to the board to get it adjusted and built. And, I believe that the board would have the ability to see through that and understand that, you know what, that's what the house originally had, that's what it should have again. And, you know, so that's where I think it's at. It's understanding what it is and having the compassion to understand what's right and what's wrong.
Thank you. Scott?
So the question being, do I think that, we need to change zoning in the village? Yes, we do it all the time. It comes month to month, on the planning commission. We're continuing to change zoning constantly because of different needs within the community. We're always trying to address every, individual's needs within the community, because we have a very unique set of homes within our community. You've got this old, home area, which is kind of scattered a little bit and still kind of located in certain areas. Then you've got a 70s growth area that those homes may need some extra care as well. We've got the brand new subdivisions. We've got the subdivision I live in, Brookstone subdivision, next to the hotel up at 120. You know, that's a 90s subdivision. We have so much diversity within our village that we have to continually change the zoning code, and we do. We're always changing zoning within this community at every single planning commission meeting. So yes, we need to change our zoning, but it's always happening.
Thank you.
Being fairly inexperienced right now, only been on the planning commission 2 months, kinda hard for me to answer, but I'd have to agree, it's kinda like a case-by-case basis. Cause every meeting I've been to so far, we've had to discuss sort of different zoning things and stuff like that. As far as the zoning goes, I have been spending a lot of time, I talked to Orrin, who does a lot of consulting, for zoning stuff for us. I've had a few questions, a lot of my friends know that I'm on a planning commission now, so they've been asking me questions, so I've been spending a lot of time on Zoning Hub and talking to the staff and talking to people and learning stuff, so. But yeah, I think it's a case-by-case basis, based on the situation, what's going on at the time, and what the plan they present.
Okay, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, we change it all the time, and, we wanna have that flexibility for the residents. If they wanna expand and invest into the community, it's great. You wanna build a big carriage house, I mean, we can take a look at that and be flexible on that, but we also wanna listen to the citizens too. I mean, if they wanna put up a huge, apartment building, 4 or 5 stories or whatever it was presented before, so, we also wanna have parameters around that, but we also wanna have the flexibility and understanding of the citizens, so.
Thank you. Mary?
What brings to mind to me is a law of unintentional consequences.
Pardon me.
There's a need to hear out what zoning changes need to be considered. But at the same time, we need to be aware of what would the impact to the people around that area be. And I'm reminded of a friend who lives in Elkhorn on the perimeter, and for a while they were looking at a pig farm that was gonna be built behind them. Fortunately, it didn't happen, but again, sometimes zoning changes that may be right for the person who owns the property may have an impact on all the neighbors. And so it's always a balancing act. Sometimes we need to stick with zoning. I know there was a time that they were looking at putting, manufacturing on a property that was zoned commercial. We said, no, that's the way it's zoned. The board has a responsibility to look at the bigger picture when looking at any kind of zoning change.
Thank you. Last question, I promise. We'll start with Matt, but we'll just reverse order and come down to the table this direction. What is your definition of limited government?
My definition of limited government, I think we've touched on a lot of that here today, is I believe in the free market. I think the free market is here when it comes to the businesses that we need. The market's gonna determine it. Sometimes restaurants succeed, sometimes they fail. Sometimes grocery stores come in, sometimes they don't, right? But I also, you'll hear me say when we look at properties and where the village has invested tax dollars into, we're the investor of last resort. There are situations where no one is going to do something with a property, and it's going to sit and it's gonna be blighted. What do we do about that? How do we spawn or get going the economic engine there? We take that very seriously. When Scott talked about the industrial park, MLG owned that property, they were leasing it out to a farmer, and I think it was going for about $11,000 an acre. They were gonna sell it to him. We said, what if we bought it? Worst case scenario, we turn around and we sell it as farmland and recoup our money. Guess what? We've grown, we've almost filled it, and it's a great spot for jobs. It's brought people to the community, it's brought tax base to the community. That to me is as far as I wanna go. I don't wanna tell people how to live their lives. I want people to be great neighbors with each other. And it's hard, because we have competing, ideas about what that is. I think that's what's great though about East Troy, is that we have we keep calling it Mayberry, and I love that we can be different and get along and have this. And I was just thinking about this the other day, that's about 5 years ago, when it was like, oh, you're not supposed to go anywhere, you're not supposed to do it. East Troy was the perfect place to be. My daughter was 3. I could take her outside, we had sidewalks, we had nature parks and stuff. It was that was what I think about, about that, and that's what makes me love this community. And so I want the limited government that we have to make sure that we protect those things that keep what makes East Troy great. And that's why I love calling it home, and I've called it home. I've actually lived in East Troy longer than I've lived anywhere else in my life, and I can't imagine moving away. And I think it's because of the work that the board has done. I've been happy to be a part of it, so, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. Mary?
I think about essential services. What is it that we can do better than the private sector at a better cost to service the needs of our people? And that's where I look at things like a good police department that protects our people, a good DPW, a good administrator. What is the essential services and what can we do best? For me, that's what limited government is about.
Thank you. Joe?
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I mean, if you look at our budget, we're to the penny every year, so, you look at, the board's pay, we look at that pay every year, and I don't think the last time there was a pay increase, so, we look at it and we say, we're not doing this for the money, right? And so we don't look at, pay increases, that's not something that we're looking at, so, we do this because we enjoy it. And, we try to keep things down as much as possible, we're very competitive when we do bids, so we try to keep the cost down as much as possible.
Thank you, Joe. Ryan?
Well, when I think of limited government, I think of not over-regulating, not over-ordinances, and, like Meredith said, have the essential services that you need. You need a strong fire department, you need a strong police department, good schools, and good services, but, not over-regulate people and, enforce the ordinances that are already on the books, not making new ones.
Thank you, Scott?
I think it's a real simple statement, get out of the way. Let the people do what they need, in this community. And we're here not to, be adversarial, to fight them, we're here to figure out a way to help them. A way to, let those processes happen, in a constructive and responsible way. But ultimately, let's just stay out of the way of the people, that's what it comes down to.
Thank you.
They all pretty much nailed it. I mean, government is supposed to be unobtrusive, not reaching into your home, not putting their hand in your pocket, but being there to support some key necessities. The fire department, the police department, things like that. Brian, you nailed it, government's supposed to be there for the people in the community, not to be having the people of the community serving the government. And, again, we're Mayberry. The government that we have has done a really good job of that. Again, I go back to the fact that Matt and his team have done a wonderful job of listening when it comes to ordinances and adjusting and tweaking to make sure that, every scenario gets an ear. And if it makes sense, let's change the ordinance, let's make it work. So it's gotta be compassionate, they've gotta listen, and they gotta be unobtrusive.
Okay, this concludes the question and answer period of submitted and pre-written questions. Each of the candidates will now have up to 5 minutes to make closing remarks, starting with the write-in candidates in reverse order of our opening remarks, and then the incoming candidates in reverse order. So Matt will